November 6th, 1973. A family returns home from a bowling night out to find their babysitter held hostage. Within hours, 9 people are dead. 2 children executed on a bed. Adults bound and shot in a closet. And when it's over, the killers go to the kitchen and eat chocolate cake. This is the story of the greatest murder spree you've never heard of. There's this case from 1973 that nobody talks about. 17 people dead, 9 of them killed in a single night in a tiny California town. The whole thing just disappeared into history. You know how we know all about Ted Bundy, the Zodiac, Manson. Well, these guys flew completely under the radar. It's 1973, Nixon's imploding over Watergate. The oil crisis is hitting. The whole country feels like it's coming apart at the seams. Somewhere in that chaos, 2 guys meet in Denver and decide to go on a road trip that's going to leave bodies scattered across 3 states. Their names are Douglas Gretzler and Willie Steelman. They weren't killing for some twisted sexual thing, which is often the case. They weren't trying to get famous. They were killing because they didn't want witnesses. As simple as that. Douglas Gretzler was born in 1951 in the Bronx, middle-class family. When he was a teenager, his older brother died by suicide, and that broke something in Douglas. He got diagnosed with anxiety and depression at 13, which back then basically meant nobody did anything about it. By his late teens, he was doing mescaline and LSD, just trying to escape his own mind. By 1970, he gets married in Miami. He has a daughter. December 26th, 1972, he just up and leaves. Doesn't say a word to his wife or his baby, waits until they go out, packs a duffel bag, and drives west in his MGB. Ends up in Casper, Wyoming for 6 months. Low-paying jobs. Gets arrested for vagrancy in June 1973. By autumn, he's drifting through Denver with no real direction or no purpose. And that's when he meets Willie Steelman. Willie Steelman was born in 1945 in California's San Joaquin County. His dad died when he was 13. Steelman dropped out of school, started terrorizing his mom because she remarried. He had serious head injuries from motorcycle accidents. That kind of trauma can fundamentally damage how your brain works. He'd been diagnosed with schizophrenic tendencies, spent time in mental institutions in Stockton and Modesto. He had this charisma, though. This ability to talk people into things, especially people who were lost. They meet in Denver in autumn 1973. Steelman's the older guy who knows how things work. Gretzler's looking for someone to tell him what to do. They start small. Purses, checkbooks. When Steelman steals his own sister's purse, that's when you know they've crossed over. October 11th, they leave Denver for Arizona. The killing starts. Around October 13th to 15th in Globe, Arizona, Steelman later confessed he met up with a drug dealer called Preacher to settle a dispute. Things went sideways. Preacher ended up dead, killed by his own brother. Then Steelman and some guy named Larry killed the brother and another man. Said they buried the bodies in the Arizona desert. Police never found them. Those 3 guys were probably the first victims. October 17th in Phoenix, they meet Ken Unrain, 21, and Michael Adshade, 19, living in a VW van. They befriended them, overpowered them, then kidnapped them, drive them across state lines into California, find a remote spot, and then stab them, strangle them, hide the bodies in the bushes, drive right back to Arizona. That's their system. No witnesses. October 23rd, Superstition Mountains. They come across Stephen Lorraine, 18 years old. Steelman makes the kid crawl into a sleeping bag. He zips it up, shoots him in the head. The sleeping bag serves no practical purpose. It was about control, making the victim feel helpless. October 24th and 25th, Bob Robbins and Catherine Mestistis, people Steelman actually knew from a trailer park. He killed them anyway. Social connections meant nothing. Gretzler later admitted to these murders riding in an elevator with detectives. Just mentions it like he's remembering where he left his keys. November 2nd in Tucson. Gilbert Sierra stops to give two hitchhikers a ride. They force him to drive to a ravine. Steelman runs him down, shoots him in the face and the temple. Witnesses said Gretzler was laughing. That detail is important because later, his lawyers argued that he was under Steelman's control. But you don't laugh at someone's execution if you're just going along for the ride. Same day, they kidnap Vincent Armstrong in Tucson. They take his Firebird. Armstrong sees an opening, scrambles over a wall, and runs into a church. He is the only one out of all of this who gets away. Armstrong gives police descriptions. They create sketches. In 1973, though, communication between jurisdictions is terrible. Tucson cops have faces, but California has no idea what's coming. November 3rd, Michael and Patricia Sandberg's condo in Tucson. It's a young couple, home at the wrong time. This one takes hours. They tie Michael up in an elaborate hog tie using parcel post twine. The ligature connects his ankles to his neck in a V pattern. He tries to straighten his legs. He strangles himself. They force Patricia to take Valium while they ransack the house. When they're done, Steelman shoots Michael, shoots Patricia. She's still moving, though, so he grabs a golf club and beats her to death. They steal the Sandbergs' Datsun and head west to California. November 6th, 1973, Victor, California. Small town, population 275. This is Steelman's home turf. The target is Walter Parkin's house. Wally Parkin owned the local supermarket, building a new home for his growing family. That night, Wally and his wife Joanne are out bowling. Their babysitter, Debbie Earl, is watching their kids. Debbie's boyfriend, Mark Lang, is there. Richard and Wanda Earl, Debbie's parents, are visiting. Their son, Ricky, too. Gretzler and Steelman show up while the Parkins are out, take control of everyone. They wait. When the Parkins come home from bowling, they walk right into it. 9 people total, including 11-year-old Lisa and 9-year-old Robert. They bind everyone with nylon cord, with complex knots, gag them with neckties. The adults and teenagers get herded into the walk-in closet in the primary bedroom. The 2 little kids go on the bed. Then they start shooting. Forensics recovered 25 bullets. Debbie Earl was shot 4 times, her father Richard 5 times. Every single person executed. There are bodies stacked in the closet and 2 children shot dead on the bed. These guys walk into the kitchen and Gretzler eats a slice of chocolate birthday cake and drinks wine while Steelman pours himself some Seagram's whiskey. They're sitting there having a snack in a house full of corpses like they just finished a long day at work. Around 1:20 in the morning, they leave. The next morning, a house guest named Carol Jenkins discovers the bodies. Victor is a town of 275 people, as I said. This obliterates the community. Sheriff Mike Canlis reaches out to the FBI. Willie Steelman's name comes up immediately. They release his booking photo to the press. On November 8th, a desk clerk at the Clunie Hotel in Sacramento sees the photo in the newspaper, recognizes the guy who checked in. Police surround the hotel. Gretzler gets arrested when he comes back, tells them where to find Steelman. After 17 murders in less than a month, it's all over. A hotel clerk with a good memory is the hero. California dealt with them first. On June 6, 1974, Gretzler pleaded guilty to all 9 counts of first-degree murder for the Victor Massacre and received 9 concurrent life terms. Arizona extradited both of them to stand trial for the Sandberg murders. Both men were convicted and sentenced to death. Willie Steelman never made it to the execution chamber. He died of cirrhosis on August 13, 1986, at 41 years old on death row at Florence State Prison. Douglas Gretzler spent over 24 years on death row. On June 3, 1998, at Florence State Prison, Arizona conducted its first daytime execution. Gretzler was put to death by lethal injection in front of 35 witnesses, including relatives of the victims. His last words were an apology that took 25 years to arrive. Quote, "From the bottom of my soul, I'm so deeply sorry. and have been for years for murdering Patricia and Michael Sandberg. Though I'm being executed for that crime, I apologize to all 17 victims and their families. So why don't we know about this? 17 people dead, 9 of them killed in a single night. Gretzler and Steelman are just footnotes in true crime history. Part of it is timing. In 1973, America was drowning in Watergate, Vietnam, and the oil crisis. A massacre in a tiny California farm town couldn't compete for attention. Part of it is the victims. They were rural and working class, for the most part. The Parkins weren't celebrities. They were regular people who happened to be home on the wrong night. And part of it is the killers themselves. No catchy nickname, no mystery, no manifesto. But 17 families were destroyed. Kids who never got to grow up. Parents who never saw their children again. A town that still carries the trauma 50 years later. The Parkin house was once a place where a family was building their future. It became the site of one of the most brutal mass murders in American history. A place where killers ate birthday cake while 9 bodies grew cold around them. That's the story of the greatest murder spree you've never heard of. 17 victims over 30 days of terror. A criminal justice system that eventually caught them, but couldn't give the families the one thing they really wanted, which was an answer to why. Why did this happen? Why their loved ones? Why that night? Gretzler and Steelman took those answers with them to their graves, and Victor, California carries the scars forever. Thanks for listening to 10-Minute Murder, bingeable true crime stories. I'm Joe. I'm the host. Here's an email from one of you that listens. Subject, I didn't know that part. Hi, Joe. I've lived in Texas my whole life and have heard about the yogurt shop murders more times than I can count. But I've never heard the detail you mentioned about how quickly the narrative shifted during the investigation, especially with the early suspects and public pressure. It made the case feel less like a mystery and more like a slow-motion failure. I appreciate you slowing down and explaining that instead of jumping straight to the theories. Miguel in San Marcos, Texas. Miguel, thanks a lot for the email. And yeah, that case, I think, is a perfect example of how momentum can push an investigation in the wrong direction. Because once that happens, it's incredibly hard to undo the damage that you've done with that. Thanks for the email. Hey, if you're a new listener to the podcast, you can go to 10minutemurder.com and check out more about the podcast. You can sign up for the newsletter. You can read the murder blog, find all the places you can follow the podcast on social media, and send me an email if you want to. Also, if you're a new listener, most importantly, subscribe to the podcast. Before you do anything else, hit the subscribe button right now. If you're an OG listener, you know that I love you. Keep listening, keep sharing this podcast with your friends and your family, and also keep rating and reviewing it anywhere that's possible. And that's going to do it. That's your episode for today. Thank you again for listening to 10-Minute Murder.